and thank you very much for joining us. This is a session that we recorded as part of our Future Print Packaging Summit. And I'm really pleased to have with me today Rita Torfs, who is Product Manager of Industrial Inkjets at Agfa. Rita, hi.
Hi.
And her colleague Mark Graindors, who many of you will know, who is Business Manager for Industrial Inks. Mark, hi.
Hello, Fraser.
And this session is titled as Aqueous Inkjet Solutions for Corrugated Boards, correct?
Indeed, that's correct.
Thank you. So, Rita, people may not know you. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do for Agfa.
Yeah, so as you told, I am the product manager for corrugated inks at Agfa. I have actually an R&D background and now for several years in the technical business team to work with the OEMs building inkjet solution to help to select the right ink formulation. The Agfa team has studied now for several months, years already, the corrugated board application, and we see this as a target application that fits Agfa's know-how and a market with high growth potential for inkjet printing.
Yeah, I think we all agree there. Mark, anyone who doesn't know you, just give us a very quick line on who you are and what you do for Agfa.
So yeah, we are both in the same team. We do the business development, the full responsibility worldwide on having Agfa inks being selected as an OEM ink.
Yeah.
Not only with the OEM, of course, more and more with the end user.
Of course.
Corrugated is quite interesting in that respect because you need to talk to the corrugators and the companies building the print systems. And we both have an R&D background, and that technical expertise is really helpful in this way of working with partnership collaboration, which is also one of your big topics always in future print events. And corrugated is very similar in that. It's all about partnerships.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Collaboration again is key. That's always coming through. I know that obviously inks are interesting around corrugated, and you've got that sort of debate between UV ink versus water-based inks. It's a fairly hot topic. In the case of corrugated, both can be used, but you seem pretty convinced that water-based is the way forward.
Yes, during this session we will explain why we choose the water-based inks actually.
Yeah, but I want to stress that of course I'm a believer of UV inks too. So they will coexist. It's not a or question.
Yeah.
It's more a question when. When do you use what type of ink?
Yeah.
There are UV ink systems on the market for corrugated, by the way. We will explain why we believe water-based and what the advantages are. But generally speaking, including packaging applications, some really work very well with UV inks. UV inks are growing. UV inkjet ink is growing and will stay growing. But for several applications where it's really a natural fit to use water-based inks, such as corrugated, as we will explain today, we only consider really water-based ink.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's actually the topic of the session today.
Yeah. Sounds good. So digital print is obviously the key here. And why is it so interesting? You're going to explain a little bit more about that.
So the typical digital advantages are also attractive this time for corrugated, especially since the cost of the printed corrugated board should be very low. And the cost of waste throughout the production chain are undesirable actually. So speed to market is crucial, and one of the biggest growing segments is e-commerce.
Yeah, and last week we were at the FEFCO Technical Seminar, which is the European organization of the corrugated industry. This time in Copenhagen for 2.5 days, 800 people. So really the corrugated industry, and digital print for corrugated is one of the key topics since a few times on this biannual conference. And what was important that we learned is that a university has done a study on the impact of printing on the strength of the corrugated. And if you do by flexo, where you touch, of course, the corrugated, you lose up to 20% of your strength, while this is not happening with digital printing. So in fact, you can save 20% of your board cost by making it thinner, and then you have still the comparable strength to when you print with flexo.
That's interesting, isn't
it? So that's something that you really need to learn from the industry itself.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That is a really interesting point, isn't it, Mark? That so there's a cost efficiency and material efficiency.
Yeah, indeed, and it's all about finding the right processes. You have to implement digital, and you can do it pre-print, you can do it post-print, but it's all about fitting with the existing processes.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Rita?
All elements that we show here on the slides were actually confirmed by the corrugators as important to them. And the run length is going down.
Oh my goodness me, what is going on here today?
For the implementation of inkjet printing. Today, there are many different solutions on the market, different output levels, as single pass versus multi-pass, and both UV and water-based inks. So let's dive into the technology. And then it's the next slide. So 4 important elements motivate the choice for aqueous inks. Number 1 is recyclability. Number 2 is sustainability. Number 3, food safe inks. And number 4, cost efficiency.
Next slide.
Well, I have some comments extra on this.
Okay, fine, sorry.
So recycling, why is it number 1? Because recycling, of course, in the European Green Deal and other initiatives, it's a key element. So this is the European industry talking, and they have an impressive record in corrugated. They are now up to 89% of corrugated packaging is being recycled. This is the best in class, and it's only increasing every year. So recyclability is a must, and if you define a solution with digital printing, of course, number 1 stays recycled, because printed, unprinted is the same. They want to recycle it.
Yeah. Next to that, you have sustainability, but sustainability is more than recycling only. It's also about managing waste. It's about reducing energy consumption, lowering greenhouse gas emissions, and so on. An important example of the impact of digital printing in combination with an optimized production workflow is reducing the amount of empty space in the e-commerce boxes, for instance, which, amongst other things, result in a lower number of trucks on the road to deliver the packages to your home.
Yeah, and think about when it's a food package. So many years ago, people were considering different types of packaging for food. You had a primary, secondary, tertiary. That's all gone. Every packaging which is somehow related to food packaging is considered to be risky to come in contact with the food. So food safety is a must. So also here, you need to comply with the guidelines. Unfortunately, no general European guidelines, so that makes it complicated, of course. But there are, some de facto standards where your ink need to be compliant with to be allowed to be used for packaging, even if it's a transport box. That's Europe, of course, best in class, but it also delivers safety to the inhabitants of Europe and the UK.
Yeah, water-based inks contain no photoinitiators, no monomers, as it is the case with UV inks. The raw material suppliers offer compounds specifically aimed at food-safe packaging, in view of both the Swiss Ordnance List and the Nestlé list. So the message is actually picked up: we can design food-safe inks. So recyclable inks and food-safe inks are 2 targets that can be combined from the selection of raw materials.
Yeah. Of course, the cost, Rita?
Yeah, of course, there is much more than ink technology to meet all the requirements. And last but not least, we should meet the requirement of low cost, indeed.
That's really a game changer, because
agree.
as you understand, cost is everything. They save pennies wherever they can.
Yeah. Rita,
could
we go a little bit more detail into the ink technology?
Yes, of course. So you can show the next slide. So first of all, corrugated cardboard may seem easy for the consumer, but in fact it's a complicated work. in which a large number of substrates are used. In fact, they are split in two main classes, the coated liners and the uncoated liners. They are very much different in nature and each require a specific primer formulation. The primer is very thin. Aqua primer only has a wet thickness of less than 2 grams per square meter. But it controls the ink interaction and therefore especially the homogeneity of the prints. Aqua ink and primer are matched to deliver all major specifications, completely water-based. In addition, we are also developing a digital primer. The inks are pigmented inks, which provide high optical density, good light fastness, etc. And then the OPV, the overprint varnish on top, is not really mandatory, but it's usually used when scuff resistance and water resistors are required.
Mark, just out of curiosity, why don't you always go fully digital, do you think?
Yeah, that's indeed a key question that we also study a lot on it, because digital print, why should you go for analog, primer and OPV? Of course, one of the reasons is cost, because it's in an inkjet version, to make it jettable with all the constraints of low viscosity, it's going to be more expensive. Secondly, the thickness, as Rita explained, especially the primer, is really thin. So applying 2 grams per square meter wet by inkjet is not easy to do that homogeneous. When there is a large surface coverage, so when most of the part is printed like on the box on the picture, then of course it's even more suited to use a flexo primer. Of course, there are applications where the coverage is low, where you have a high percentage unprinted. Then it makes much more sense to go digital. It's also that the industry is arranged to be hybrid. So it exists. There are very good commercial OPVs that work on top of our ink. If it's an analog ink or an inkjet ink, it doesn't matter for the OPV too much. The primer is different. As Rita explained, primer and ink, they need to be matched. So we do not use commercial primers. It's an aqua combination of primer and ink. But the flexo primer is today, and it's also what we heard last week on the FEFCO seminar, is the approach of most of the people to go for a combination of a hybrid combination, to use an analog primer and then an inkjet ink. But the digital full solution will also come at a later stage. But the entry today is matching the primer and ink, and then the flexo primer is the first thing to use today.
How is Agfa approaching the market?
Please, you can go to the next slide and I can explain. So Agfa has a tradition of working with engineering companies designing and building inkjet printers. We do this also now for Corrugated. The Agfa ink design freedom allows to fit in many systems, from the high-speed single-pass machines over the mid-speed multi-pass systems to the low and mid-end printers. For Corrugated, our focus is mainly on the high-speed single-pass systems. We are very much aligned with the key print system builders, with close cooperation to make system and ink working perfectly together. Since the system builders have to make many choices, such as print heads and drying capacity, Agfa understands that one ink does not fit all systems. Agfa has the capability to tune to each system. Agfa also works with the corrugators to learn and identify the specification so that we can design an inkjet that fits the process and application. Ultimately, the corrugators are the end users and will perform the full system and ink validation at their site.
Agreed, that makes sense. So, Mark, did you want to add anything there?
Yeah, I think what Rita shows here is a bit our general way of working, but adapted to the corrugated world.
Yeah.
I've done a few sessions on laminate, and there we've done a little bit of the same, working with the lamination industry to see their processes. And here we do exactly the same, building a very strong partnership with both the printer builders, the OEMs of the print systems, as well as the corrugators. And it's very interesting to see, and again I come back to the FEFCO seminar, when you see how they think about their intelligent plant.
Yeah.
Actually, what was the top theme of the event was an intelligent corrugated plant. That was the whole 3-day theme, that every part of the sessions came actually into play. How can it be a part of an intelligent plant? Which is logistics, which is waste, which is supply, which is speed to market. That of course Inkjet can help, especially when you do post-print. You can print at the last possible stage. So Agfa is learning how to fit into that, not forgetting our skills as being a specialist inkjet ink developer. We have all the drop watchers in-house, we have the pilot plants, we have the full ink production in-house, we have the whole R&D team and application team and technical team and business team all in one spot, which is very valid to develop an ink that works, and not just one ink, an ink tuned to a certain system and to a certain approach. And also because the corrugators, they want direct supply. They want to know who the supplier is. They want to see the real label of the real producer and talk with those people. And that's what we do. And not forgetting the builders of the systems, of course. So it's a really nice area to be part of.
Great.
And to use our knowledge and to become a player in this market, which is definitely going to grow, no doubt about that.
It's nice to hear you talk so positively about this segment of the industry and give me a bit more insight into why you're committed to corrugated. I definitely feel a bit more like I'm getting an understanding. We talk a lot about unboxing, don't we? People talk about, Amazon and through COVID and it's so important, that actually we start to think about the work that goes into what goes into a box and actually the potential and the opportunities that are in that box.
Indeed, as somebody mentioned during the conference, since you buy so much e-commerce, I think they mentioned 18% in US to be e-commerce. The first time you see the product, actually the first you see is the box. Then the product, because you only seen it on screen. You didn't touch it, you didn't feel it. And the first thing you get is your box.
It's a massive market, that e-commerce market, huge marketplace. And obviously COVID has sped that up, hasn't it? It's gone much quicker towards it. So I think it's a huge market, clearly, with lots of possibilities. Obviously, sustainability, Rita, is an important issue, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. But digital printing will improve it. So we hope for the sustainability that everything goes in the right direction. We all want a greener world for ourselves and for our children, of course.
Yeah, absolutely right. And we'll be hearing more about that, of course, in the forthcoming weeks. Thank you very much for joining us on this. It's been really enlightening, give us a little bit of clarity. I know that we'll put together a nice article around this session, which will be posted up on our blog site, because I think people will be interested to just understand a little bit more. Thank you very much to both of you. Any final comments?
So I hope indeed we can bring a good article about it, and that if people have questions, our email addresses were just visible, so they should not hesitate to contact us. We're here for your questions.
Thank you very much to both of you, and hope to see you in real time at some point in the future. Thank you to both of you.
Yeah, we hope to. Thank you, Fraser.
Thank you, Fraser. See you.
Have a good event.